Hello and welcome to my channel and to this video, which is hopefully going to be the first in a series of videos of paintings inspired by my trip to Scotland. I just need to get my act together and actually do the paintings, and if I do that then there will hopefully be a series of these videos. So I went on a holiday to Scotland about 2 months ago-ish. And I went with my friend who pretty much did all of the organising and also offered to do the driving. And she took us to the very north of Scotland to begin with. We had a bit of a road trip. We broke it up a little bit and we stopped in the north where we volunteered for a little while on a nature reserve, and we spent our first week there, and then the second week we worked our way back down the west coast, visiting a couple of islands along the way, so we got to see quite a bit of it, which is why I thought it would be nice to do a series of these paintings rather than just one. And I was really excited to get back and start painting because there was a landscape around pretty much every single corner, especially in the second week when we were doing lots of driving. Every time you went around a bend there was just a new scene in front of you that could pretty much just be painted as it was. It didn't need any adjustment. There was mountains everywhere, waterfalls, lovely clear streams and rivers. The beaches were beautiful. The wildlife was amazing. We saw some really nice sunrises and sunsets. The weather held out, which was also great. There was just so much to paint and I felt so inspired, and I was really excited to get home and do these paintings. And here we are, about a month and a half later, and this is pretty much the first that I'm really doing of this. I haven't done a lot of paintings inspired by Scotland up to this point, so we're starting out with this little tiny landscape here. And I think there's a few reasons for the delay in painting. The first one is just a simple one, a matter of time, because I had just been on holiday for 2 weeks. So when I got back, then I had actual work to do. So I needed to go back to my regular job. And then also I've had some painting commissions come through because it's that time of year for Christmas commissions. So things have been pretty busy. So that was one of the reasons. But the other reason was the fact that I think I made the idea of these paintings a little bit more complicated than they really needed to be. I think because the place was so lovely, I got it in my head that the paintings needed to be really epic, that if I was gonna paint Scotland it should be huge, it should be a massive landscape, that I should spend ages on it, coming up with a great composition, stitching together photos, maybe putting some wildlife in there. It should take me a long time to do it. I should do it in stages and layers. I should spend ages on the detail. And what happened with that is I overwhelmed myself. I just made it into this really daunting thing that I didn't even want to start. And so we're now in October and I hadn't really made any headway in doing this really large epic painting. And it wasn't until more recently that I thought it really doesn't have to be a large epic painting. I mean, it would be nice, maybe at some point in the future I can do that, but to be honest, I don't really enjoy doing huge paintings all the time. I like doing small paintings. I like working in miniature. I like looking at tiny details. I like paintings that don't take me months to finish. I tend to have a pretty short attention span when it comes to my painting work. I like to just do something and get it done and then move on to something else, and I like to have lots of things on the go at once. And if something takes me a really long time, I'll start out super enthusiastic at the beginning, but I will quickly get fed up with it if it's taking too long, and I will lose any motivation to actually finish the piece. So I started to question why I had decided it would be so important to do a big landscape in the first place. My initial solution was to paint in a sketchbook because I thought that frees things up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect in a sketchbook. I could do a different page for every place that we visited. And that's actually what I started to do. I used watercolor and I made a page for the first place that we went to. And I got painting, and then I got fed up because at the moment I'm enjoying oils. I felt like I needed to use watercolor because it was a sketchbook and it seemed like that was a better medium, but I wasn't feeling it, so I tried to do the sketchbook idea again, but this time in oils, and I primed the paper to use it with oils. But again, I just wasn't really feeling it. it wasn't inspiring me, and I felt like I was just doing it for the sake of it. So I was back to the drawing board, and that is when I decided to do this painting on a small copper disc. I've been wanting to try a painting on copper for a while, and I thought, why aren't I doing this series on copper? I don't think I'm going to do every painting on copper. I don't think all of the paintings from Scotland are going to be miniature landscapes. I think there'll be some wildlife in there and there'll be of varying scales. But I think the variety is going to keep me interested, and I'm really hopeful that this will be a series that I can see through and document this whole trip. I think it'd be nice to do a video for each place or maybe each memorable experience of the holiday, and this is where we're starting. So this was right at the very beginning of the trip when we were on our way up north, and we stopped in Stirling, which was the first place that we stayed at. And we arrived at the hotel and we couldn't check in yet, so we decided that we would go for a walk, just a short walk. It ended up being a 6.5 mile walk, but the idea was to do a short walk just until you could check in. We had a quick search for the places that you should go see in Stirling, and the top suggestions were the castle and the Wallace Monument. So we headed over to the castle first, and we wandered around the outside and just had a look at the grounds. And then we decided it'd be a good idea to walk to the Wallace Monument, which was way off in the distance. And that is where the 6.5 mile walk came in. Although it was a little longer than we intended, I think it worked out pretty well doing the walk, because we got to see more of Stirling than I think we would have done if we just drove between the two sites. It was really nice to see the mix of old and new, to see the castle and the monument in the distance, and then all of the modern hustle and bustle of everyday life just going on in the meantime. This bridge is a road bridge, and it was one where we got a little bit confused about where we were supposed to walk, because we came to a huge roundabout and didn't know how to get across it. And there is a walkway that goes underneath the roundabout, which we did not see, so it took us a very long time to get here. The bridge in the distance I think is quite pretty, but the one that we were actually standing on, which is closer to where this photo was taken, is far more picturesque. It is much older, the bridge is all cobbled, and it was pretty beautiful, but we didn't get to see it from the angle that I got to see this bridge from. So I'm standing on the pretty bridge and taking a picture of the road bridge in the distance, but I think it works. This is a nice reminder of that part of the trip. There are definitely other places I could have painted from the trip to Stirling. I could have tried to paint some of the monument or the castle. There's lots of other interesting things going on there, but this to me just stood out. It's pretty and it's peaceful, and the river looked lovely, and it reminds me of the 6.5 mile walk. And I think it'll be nice to do a series of paintings which is a mixture of just admiring the landscape and also bringing back memories of parts of the trip. With the painting itself, I thought this was a pretty good attempt for a first time painting on copper. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm still very much experimenting with this and trying to research it myself and figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with painting on copper. But I thought it was really great for small paintings. I felt like I could get the level of detail that I wanted, and I could also blend things a lot more easily than I have been able to do on other surfaces. I did this in several layers. I think I maybe went a little over the top with the second and the third layer, and I liked the lighting that I had right at the beginning, and it was hard to get that back. So that's something that I think I'll look into for future paintings if I carry on painting on copper, and I do have several other discs, so I'm sure there will be more. But this is how it turned out. So here is the very first painting of the Scotland series. If you've watched all the way through, I hope you've enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I will be attempting to do another painting for the second part of our trip, and I'll be uploading that as soon as that's done. Let me know what you think to this type of video. Thanks for sticking around, and I will see you next time.